Warriors of National Guard recruiting, we have the great opportunity to have Master Sergeant Jay Sheppard from the great state of Georgia with us today. He is a master trainer down there, been doing it for a little bit. And we're going to talk about how he does his business and kind of the state of Guard recruiting right now from his foxhole. So I appreciate you coming on, Jay. And just for a little bit of background, could you just tell us about your Guard recruiting story and where you come from, what you're about?
Gotcha. I spent 8 years in the Army. I was a psychological operations specialist. And when I got out, I came home, of course, looking for that big job. And anyway, ended up finding the Army National Guard at the Department of Labor. It was wonderful. They actually swore me in right there because I was still on terminal leave, and right at my terminal leave date, they swore me in. I started my Guard career as a field artilleryman, which I had not done in the Army, and it was awesome. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I spent about a year doing that. The next thing I know, there's some ADOS orders coming up for recruiting, and I loved the Guard so much at that point and the Army that I just knew that I could talk to people about it. I had been doing it my whole career anyway. I had been talking to people, and I was just so dedicated, and I enjoyed it so much that I wanted other people to enjoy it. So when that opportunity came to me, I jumped on it. I became a recruiter, first stationed in Savannah, Georgia, then moved down to Brunswick. Then I became a career counselor at Fort Stewart in the 3rd Infantry Division, Title 10 tour for 2 years, came back, took over the RSP in Fort Stewart, and got promoted to Master Sergeant from there. And I took the team in Savannah, and we did very well. We had a very good team of men and women that were really devoted to recruiting and fulfilling our missions, no matter what they were. There was no give, no stop in these people. They kept going. They worked diligently. They were smart. They were dedicated. And I had the pleasure of leading them. And I retired shortly after that, 5 years after I became a Master Sergeant, and became the master trainer. And ever since then, I've been doing it, and I love it. It's a great opportunity to interact with recruiters, recruiting and retention NCOs in a different level, not in the green suit, but more of a person who can give them a realistic view without having any of the command issues that are sometimes involved with a leader talking to a subordinate. So it's been a great ride for me. I love Georgia. I love the Georgia Army National Guard, and I'll do anything for it for as long as they keep me on.
Awesome. Well, you've kind of put out there the reason why I reached out to you is I see what you put out on social media. It's always positive. It's always about the tremendous opportunity that we have in the National Guard. And it really comes out. And I think that's critically important right now, that we recognize I'm 52 years old. Everything that I own is because of my membership in the National Guard. And like you, I love this organization. And I think that's something that we gotta realize as recruiters, that this is a tremendous opportunity being a recruiter.
Most definitely.
So with your approach to working with recruiters and not being their raider and not having that green suit, aura about you, what is your approach in working with a recruiter that's first getting started or is struggling to impart that to them?
My biggest thing is to honestly feel how the recruiter feels. Dig into their data, find out what they've been doing, try to understand their plight, not only professionally in the recruiting organization, but also in their lives, in their personal lives. Our personal lives affect us more than we care to admit sometimes. And when we bring a lot of that into the recruiting world, it really affects our mission accomplishment. It truly does. So I try to be optimistic. I don't try to be optimistic. I am optimistic because I know that optimism breeds success. It truly does. Looking at things, the glass is half full versus half empty. is nothing more than just being an eternal optimist and making things happen. And people love an optimist. People don't love a pessimist. So in recruiting, if we're optimistic, we feel good, we're enthusiastic. Enthusiasm is contagious. If we truly can do that stuff and perform in those manners and treat people how we want to be treated in the recruiting world, we can be successful. The positive attitude portion is, attitude is everything, is 100% of everything we do. It truly is. How we look at everything, how we deal with things, how we react to situations. It's 100%. And every reaction we give, our attitude has to be on point. Our PT doesn't have to be on point. Our SSDs and military education don't have to be quite on point, but that attitude has to in this world. Eventually, those things will have to be. But as far as recruiting out in the real world, our attitude means everything. I truly tell recruiters that the word recruiter is synonymous with leader. I never saw myself as just a recruiter. And I've heard recruiters say that. I'm just a recruiter for the Army National Guard. I'm just like, oh, no, you're not just a recruiter. You're a leader of men and women. And you lead these men and women from being a civilian into being a Georgia Army National Guardsman. It's very important. The leadership aspect of our job, it has to overtake the recruiter aspect of our job. And I believe if we judge ourselves as leaders and not recruiters, we will automatically be more successful, because as non-commissioned officers, we are charged with taking care of our soldiers. And for recruiters, those soldiers might not be in the Army National Guard at this point. So we have to look at servant leadership and make sure we take care of our people. And I believe as a leader, if you view yourself as a leader, you automatically carry yourself differently. Your confidence level is different. You're a more competent individual, and people follow you. People don't follow followers, they follow leaders. I try to push that across to my recruiting and retention NCOs, and I let them know that they are the most important aspect of our military arsenal. Without recruiters, the military arsenal does not exist. There's nothing there. We're a volunteer military, and without these Army National Guardsmen and women out there grinding every single day to fill the ranks, there's no Army National Guard. So I see these units with the tip of the spear and all these great slogans that they have, and they're wonderful, when they're deployed and when they're taking care of business. But as far as the tip of the spear, I view every single recruiting and retention NCO in the nation, the tip of the spear, keeping the Army National Guard together and moving forward.
And that's a really interesting thing, because in every state, at least once a year, there'll be a general that will come to their event and say, well, you guys are the tip of the spear. There's nothing that we can do without you guys. And when you're in the audience over a career in recruiting, you get numb to it. You start to get cynical about it, and you don't think about it in that way. You think, well, he's kind of got to say that, and then we'll see him next year. And I like what you had to say about the leadership aspect, because it disappears a lot of times when you get into recruiting. And so I want to throw something out there to you, which I think is a little bit of our challenge right now, and how you approach it. If you look at recruiting logically, you know that it's going to be mostly no's. And when anyone comes into recruiting, the people in their orbit are like, are you sure you want to try out recruiting? Because it's kind of hard. And so we kind of get disconnected from that after we go off to school and come back. And don't understand that our everyday is mostly no, and that's fine.
That's right.
So how do you deal with that encouragement of volume of prospecting, with the understanding that from the beginning of time, it was always going to be mostly no?
Most definitely. The thing about it is I think we have to really focus. We have to do intentional recruiting. We have to know who we're looking for, and we have to match up what the guard is to our target audience. If we're going out there and we're throwing it out there to 1,000 students, of course we're going to get tons of no's. To me, no means numerous opportunities. That just gave me a green light to move on and find that person that I actually need to put in the Army National Guard. So using that slogan, it kind of pushes me through, but we've got to be intentional about who we're looking for. At the beginning of our presentations, if we're presenting about benefits and every single benefit of the National Guard and the military, and they're all pretty much the same when you think about it, it's just word gymnastics really is what it is. We have to make sure that we tell the people we're talking to who we're looking for. We're looking for the cream of the crop. We're looking for the people who want to develop themselves as a civilian and as a soldier. I think if we open ourselves up and we make that apparent to ourselves and then the people we deal with, I think we'll get less no's. As a matter of fact, I know we'll get less no's. Today is an example. We did it today. And we have to be very direct with who we're talking to, let them know what we are, what we're looking for. And the no's diminish. They truly do. Now, these people may not all be qualified to join, and in the end may not join. That's okay. But at least we brought them into our network where they were just slightly interested. And now they belong to the Guard network. Now we ask for referrals. We treat them how we want to be treated. We still offer them career guidance. If they need to learn how to apply for a college or get a job, we can do a letter of recommendation. There's a lot of ways we can do that. We can't get down on the nose. We can't allow ourselves to do that. That's a part of business since day one when businesses began. People did not want to buy a certain product. It's just the way it is. We have to mentally prepare ourselves for that. And that's where optimism plays a huge role. That's where mental awareness plays a huge role. And to some aspect, to my aspect, that's where spiritual strength carries me through. And I believe that is something that everybody could benefit from. And no matter what they do in life, what they believe in life, they must have a source of strength. And if you have that true source of strength, you can drive through anything. So no means numerous opportunities.
Well, and we get, especially now with processing rules, to hone in on what you mentioned, like, who do we want? And I always say sports, honors, activities, groups. These are people that are going someplace, and our number one benefit is their college benefit. And a lot of times our recruiters get into this trap of looking for the people that need us and not looking for the people that we need to bring onto our team.
Exactly.
So when you're working with recruiters down in Georgia, that's a habit that's hard to break,
Yes.
Of fishing in the wrong pond.
Most definitely.
So what are some of the approaches that you take to that?
I think the first thing we have to understand that the Army National Guard, we are the number one choice in the nation for part-time military service. There's nobody even close to second. The second, whoever's in second place they're way down there. So part-time military service, we're the number one choice. We have to go in thinking that way. When we think less of ourselves, sometimes I will find that a recruiter will think that, maybe we do belong to the Army, or we're under the Army umbrella, or whatever, or the Marines this, or the Air Force this. We automatically judge ourselves as second-class citizens in the military arena, and we are not by any means. The war fights we've been doing, the domestic support that we offer, is second to none. There's nobody close. So we have to ensure that we understand that about the Army National Guard, who we represent. Then, as we're going into these ponds, if we are dipping into ponds or into groups of students or people that are not who we're looking for, maybe low-hanging fruit, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different ways to call it, but they're people that we don't need in the ranks, because our people have to be the cream of the crop. They have to have something more than just a regular individual looking to join the military. We have to deviate from that plan. How I talk to my guys, I look at who they're talking to. I dig into the type of individual, the GPAs they're dealing with. What are the individual's goals? And a lot of times they'll be like, well, they passed the ASVAB and they want to join the military. Well, that's great. But, maybe they're saying military for active duty. Did you ask them what they actually want to do in the military? And sometimes, just by asking simple questions, you can actually start getting out of those ponds, because you're going to get beat about the head and shoulders enough out there that over time, you'll figure it out that I need to leave that alone. maybe this particular ROTC at this high school, they're totally geared towards active duty, and even their instructors are gearing them towards active duty. So I'm wasting my time. I'm spinning my wheels. Let me go find the college, the AP courses, the college prep courses, the career and college academies, those types of students that are going to benefit from the National Guard and not necessarily need the National Guard. I'm a believer in talking with students that never thought about joining the military. I'm a believer in that. I don't shy away from that because they don't know what we have to offer them. Nobody's told them. So they automatically think that the military is not a viable option for them. But our military, the way we are with the Army National Guard, we're an option for just about anybody that wants to be successful in life. So I will dig into data. I will look at who they're talking to, and I will help them deviate from that. And it's difficult to do because we get in patterns, we get in ruts. And, we go to, say, a high school and they let us go to the lunchroom and they're user friendly. And that's my best high school. Well, what do they let you do? They let me go into the lunchroom and do a LRD, a lunchroom display, and stand around and talk to students. Okay. What students are you getting during the lunchroom? Well, I'm getting this and a freshman, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not getting quality students that you need, which are juniors and seniors with something besides just wanting a job or wanting to join the military in their mind. They have some pathway that they're at least thinking about, or they see themselves in the National Guard where we can support that pathway. They've really got to notice that, and they really need a second set of eyes to tell them that sometimes. Because like I say, we get caught in a rut, and I've done it before when I was a recruiter. I would get caught in a rut with a football team, and I won't mention any schools, but I couldn't get any of them to pass the ASVAB. But I knew because I was welcome there and they acted like they wanted to join the Guard and they were responding to what I was putting out there, that's where I needed to be. And it truly wasn't. It truly wasn't. So that extra set of eyes definitely helps.
Well, yeah, that kind of highlights something that I do think we got a problem all over the place where as recruiters, we go towards the yes, and the yes is probably going to be in your more rural schools with a lower population and less volume. And you're going to keep going there because they don't say no.
That's right.
They don't put you in the closet in the counselor's office, but we got to knock that door down of that large school with the high population and the high volume. And like you mentioned, go after the blue chippers.
You got it.
So something that I'm curious about your perspective that I think states could benefit from. Many states have master trainers. Some are green suiters, some not. But there's not a cohesiveness in the master trainer program. Sure. So if you were a king for a day, what would that program look like, for a state?
If I were king for a day, I believe, honestly, every state would be, with their recruiting practices, with their recruiting prowess and training, and even the master trainer portion, that there should be more of a consolidated front. Every state should be out there battling forward to get the people we need to fill these ranks. The master trainer position, I believe, is a wonderful position. I think I've made a huge difference. I'd like to believe that. I think the right master trainer in the right place can do wonderful things. I think that if every state had a master trainer or master trainers to help with their people, to be that ear that these people, that recruiters need. They need to talk to somebody that is not their raider, their senior raider, because we all understand how the chain of command works. So you can't tell, sometimes recruiters will not be able to express everything they need to. So just by having us as a sounding board to bounce things off of, and we're what I call a neutral party, that helps right there. And I like the civilian aspect of it personally, because the doors I've opened as a civilian with recruiters, they could have never opened, because they don't know, they don't understand what I am when I show up as a civilian. And I'll be 50 next week on Valentine's Day. So I'm a mature, older man for this force. And we really can open some huge doors. My counterparts do the same thing. They're wonderful trainers. but we are huge door openers. And we also offer consolidated training amongst individual training. But as far as the nation as a whole, I think the needs maybe vary from state to state, but I believe this should be a program that is across the nation, and to where we can actually, the master trainers can get together and cross-pollinate, share knowledge and experience, and then go back out and filter it out to the states. I think it's a wonderful idea. I hope someone buys off on it and does something with it. But I believe it is a huge benefit to our force. And I believe as our force and our society, as social media and all these other aspects of our society continue to, I won't say improve, but change and alter the way we think in society, I believe that we do need master trainers as sounding boards and as specialized trainers to specifically do things, and they are outside of the chain of command. I believe it's just it's a no-brainer to have a heavy hitter in there doing that kind of stuff.
Well, and I've tried to get that master trainer seminar event going.
Yeah.
But there's been so much turnover in mostly the green suitor position. So that's another thing that if there's someone like you, that is an advantage, because you're not going to move to other positions. Right. You're gonna be in this role, and you start to get a groove at how to get it into a recruiter's head to do something different. Yes. We only got a little bit of time left, but I wanted to throw this out there to you, if you could throw it back to me in like 2 minutes or so.
Sure.
Many times we hear that never works. And it can be anything. It can be phone calling. It could be school programs. So how do you address that to get people to doing the volume of prospecting that they need to do?
That never works to me is an excuse for not meeting the mark, is basically to me, because anything can work. It depends on the effort, the intensity, and what you put into those activities. Anything can work. When we talk about mass lead generating, I went to the mall last week. Now, if you saw my Facebook post, myself and a recruiting retention, we went to the mall because, one thing I learned in recruiting, you never know where you're going to find your next recruit. You don't know. So you have to be on all the time. Anywhere you go, any location, you've got to be turned on. You've got to be ready to go. When we go out and lead generate, sometimes we hit zeros. Other times we do well. It just depends. It's always situational. But we have to understand that what we believe in recruiting, if we believe that our actions are going to work, if we believe in what we are talking about with the National Guard, if we have such a deep belief in our hearts and passion for this job and for success, everything will work. It'll work in one way or another. It may work to gain a COI, a VIP, leads. It may work to gain disqualified leads that can be your network, can be a referral network for you. So never say it doesn't work. Go out and try anything and put your best foot forward and lead. Don't just recruit. We have to remember that.
Well, I really appreciate you dedicating some time to this. And I would just say this as we close. Again, thank you a lot for doing it. But the enthusiasm is the thing.
It is.
And I see that when you're out, and I see your Facebook posts and whatnot, and what you're doing with recruiters, everybody can pick that up. So thanks again for doing this, and keep on doing it. Hopefully I'll meet you in the same spot. I'm going to be down in Georgia next week myself.
Let's do it. I expect 5 leads out of you, CSM. Who?
Thanks again, and keep on trucking.
Roger that. Take care.
You bet.